following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I'm your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Commanders are back in the win column. It's Victory Monday. Celebrate! Y'all know what it is. 4-5 on the season after the 20-17 victory over the New England Patriots. And I had a chance to go back and watch the game again. And I will say this at the top of the show, and we'll talk more about this probably tomorrow after I've had a chance to watch the film with the mob. But this was the most complete game I've seen Eric Bieniemy call as the offensive play caller of this football team this season. I thought the run selection was consistent. It was a nice mix and mesh of under center runs, featuring a fullback at times, and those were sparse, but still they mixed those in there, which gives you a little bit of variety. And as we all know, variety is the spice of life. So under center runs with the fullback, without the fullback. We saw gun runs, so there was a nice healthy mix of getting under center. They set up some play action fake under center because you were able to run the football under center. They went max protect a couple of times, took some shots. We saw the ball go down the field a little bit more. I thought there was a nice sprinkle of screens. There was a cute one on 3rd and 1 where they motioned in Antonio Gibson and then motioned him back out and threw it to him quickly, and then he was able to get up the field. I thought there was a nice balance of screens, quick game, and then vertical passing game and getting to the intermediate throws as well. I thought that EB mixed everything in, and it kept the Patriots defensively off balance. And you want to know why we had 400 yards of total offense for the second consecutive week for the first time since 2020? Is because Eric Bieniemy did a tremendous job. Now, again, got to score more than 20 points, and the red zone is a direct correlation. I talk about this every week. I've been talking about this every week for the last 2-3 years, right? You know, since I really started honing in on red zone efficiency and how important it is. You know, 1 of 4 is the reason we only scored 20 points in this game. We dominated the New England Patriots, but it didn't show up where it matters the most on the scoreboard. Nobody cares and nobody wants to hear about how much you dominated, how many total yards of offense you put up, and you did this and you did that. Because if we had lost this game, you wouldn't be talking about that, you know, or you'd be talking about it, but you'd say we lost though, right? So we got to be more efficient in the red zone. It's great to move the football. It's great to have, you know, 9 of 17 on 3rd downs. We're going to get to all of those things here in a second because these were keys to the game, right? Keys to victory. And it's great to have all of those statistics, dominate time of possession, all of the things that we did. But if you don't get it done in the red zone, 1 of 4, you're going to lose games against better opposition. Okay? So, and this hasn't been a problem for much of the year. And I've talked about that. We've been a really good red zone offensive team this year. And so it's disappointing when we don't get it in the end zone. We let a Patriots team that struggles to score, that's averaging less than 15 points a game, hang around because we didn't put them away by scoring touchdowns. So that was the most disappointing part. But, you know, everything else, even the turnovers, which were frustrating, but just watching the game, I was so impressed with Eric Bieniemy. This was my favorite Eric Bieniemy game to date as the play caller here. And if that's the case, if he's trending in that direction, we got to reevaluate his standing within the organization. And there's a conversation that needs to be had. But we got to see this more. I can't go crazy after just one performance. Let's see him do it again, right? Let's see him do it again after that. And then after that, and then as he continues to settle into this role and he starts to establish who we are, because what I've realized is certain things I'm just going to have to accept. Like, I want it my way as a fan. You want it your way as a fan. But guess what? You're going to have to accept that on 3rd and 1, we're not a physical, you know, jumbo formation, fullback, you know, downhill, mash 'em football team. We're not the Philadelphia Eagles where on 4th and 1, you know what you're getting, right? even though it's almost like a cheat code, you know what you're getting. When the Eagles get into 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, it's to the point now where the Eagles, when it's 3rd and 3, they'll run it, a gun run on 3rd and 3 just to get 2 yards or a yard and a half, just so they can get close enough to do the brotherly shove on 4th and 1, 4th and 1.5. They don't give a shit. They know what they can do. They got that ace in their back pocket. And you want to get to a point where you're so physical, you've established who you are, that you can just run it. That's not who we are. And I don't think that's who we'll ever be, right? I got to come to grips with, on 3rd and 1, we might run a cute screen. You know, we had a failed 3rd down where Sam gets the snap. It's a little high, but I don't even know what the hell he was going to do with the football. Was he going to hand it to Brian Robinson? Was it read option? Was he going to throw it? Was he going to keep it and try to run? But it wasn't under center. But when we did get under center, when we did hand it off, it was effective on 3rd and short. But that's not who we're going to be most of the time. And I have to come to grips with that as a fan. And that's okay. You know what? So be it. Anyway, let's get to the keys to victory for Washington in week number 9 versus New England and how we fared in that department. So the game plan looked as follows. Offensively, first key to the game, run the protection back from last week. I'd say that was a success. Last week against the, Philadelphia Eagles, 1 sack given up. This week only sacked twice, or it might have been sacked a 3rd time. I think there's the blitz that he got sacked on. There's the slide that was 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage, and then there was another sack. So 3 times this week. So look, in the grand scheme of things, the protection was just as good as it was the week before. And so I thought that the protection was what we needed it to be. He had clean pockets most of the day, time to maneuver, time to let routes develop down the field. And so I thought they did a good job. There's a check mark there for run the protection back from last week. So we're trending in the right direction as an offensive line with the protection in front of Sam. Decipher Belichick's defense was the next key to the game offensively. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I thought Eric Bieniemy was locked in to what needed to be done. I don't think Sam was really phased, other than the pick in the end zone, which is still inexplicable. And Sam's explanation, I just love the fact that he was like, that's the worst play I've made in my football career in my life. Enough said. You don't have to say anything else to me. And he says, I'm never going to do that again. Perfect. And the next time we got down there, I like him to extend plays. I don't want him being a robot. A lot of you want him to turn into a robot. When he doesn't like what he sees, immediately throw it away. I don't. Part of the mystique of Sam Howell is the ability to hold on to the bitch, run around like he did when he ran across. And again, this is a no, yes type of play where he ran to his right, throws it back across his body to the left, to the middle of the football field, and Byron Pringle catches it and runs for an additional 10, 11 yards. Like, that's who Sam Howell is. I don't ever want to neuter that. I don't want to take that away. A lot of you want to. In the red zone, a lot of touchdowns are scored. The better red zone offenses are the ones with the quarterback. First of all, you better be able to run the football in the red zone. We've been able to do that. That's why we've been a good red zone offense this year. Brian Robinson touchdown is another example of us running the football effectively in the red zone. We've been really good at that. The best red zone, I've told you this for now 3 years, the best red zone offenses are the ones that can run the football. But the other thing that makes red zone offense so efficient is quarterbacks that can extend and make smart decisions, tight window throws and smart decisions, and keep the ball out of harm's way. He did not do that, but I like him extending. And then the next time we got down there, he threw it away twice without even trying to extend. I don't like that, but I do like the fact that we came away with some points. But you want 7 versus 3? The difference may be Sam scrambling around and uncovering someone because they know he can run, and then he's able to find somebody versus him just chucking it out of the back of the end zone, right? So I don't want him to turn into a robot. Some of you are cool with that. I'm not. Just don't throw it into 6 defenders, and get it picked off like he did right before the half, right? But other than that throw and that decision, he never struggled with Belichick's defense. Neither did EB as a play caller. I thought they had the Patriots off balance for the vast majority of the day. They got looks. Even the 3rd down at the end of the game, I didn't love the fact that we took a shot one-on-one, but it was one-on-one, right? So that's a check mark. They deciphered Belichick's defense. Both EB and Sam, I thought, did a tremendous job of, making plays against what can sometimes be a complicated defensive look. 3rd down and red zone efficiency. Half check mark there. So only a half point for Washington in that department. Again, 9 of 17 on third downs. Again, if we continue, last week we were 8 of, I think we were 8 of 17. This week we were 9 of 17. So this is the highest red zone, third down efficiency we've had in like 3 years, I think. So we're trending in the right direction after having 8 of 17 last week, I think it was, right? So what we're doing is we're getting into much more manageable situations, or at least one would think. In this game in particular, Washington was in a lot of third and longs, and Sam, like 3rd and 23, and Sam converted, right? 3rd and 8, he throws a dot. I mean, their throw, everybody wants to talk about the throw to Jahan, and that's a great throw off his back foot, kind of fading away. That's an excellent throw. The throw to Terry on the sidelines on 3rd and 8, what are you talking about? Seriously, what are we doing right now, Sam Howell? Like, at that point, I'm like, I'm almost ready to call you Samuel. Like, that throw was so good. Oh my God, Samuel. What are you doing right now, sir? Right? You got the pocket kind of collapsing around him. He doesn't even get a chance to step into the Jahan Dotson one on the sideline, mind you, right? These are long down and distance conversions, right? So it wasn't all 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1s. There were some of those in there, obviously. But there were a lot of 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 23 that we completed and converted in this game. So shout out to Sam and company for being efficient on third downs, no matter the down distance. The red zone efficiency is what killed us in this game, though. Again, luckily we were able to escape with the victory, but you go 1 of 4 in the red zone, you're asking to lose the football game. You're begging to lose the football game. Had we just gone 2 of 4, this isn't as close of a football game. If we go 3 of 4, we blow them out of this football game. It's red zone efficiency is so big week in and week out, especially if you're getting into the red zone. It's one thing if you're not. The Patriots only had 1 trip to the red zone. They were 1 of 1, right? They didn't get down there enough, which is a testament to the defense and their inability to be consistent. But when you get down there 4 times, that means you're moving the football. But if you can't finish, you're going to leave the door slightly ajar. And that is exactly what we did. Luckily, Quan Martin and Kendall Fuller combined to shut the door at the end of the ball game and preserve the victory. Half point there for third down and red zone efficiency. And then finally, the last key to the game offensively, avoid the mistakes. Penalties, turnovers, drops, missed opportunities. No points there. I couldn't do it because you lost the turnover battle 2-1 to a team that came into the game with 7 total forced turnovers and a -6 in the plus-minus category on the season. So that's a no-no right there. You had penalties, only 4. Both teams only had 4 penalties, so penalties weren't that big of a deal and as big of an impact. The officials, I would put them in that category. That KJ Henry penalty, that was a forced fumble. That should have been Washington football. The Patriots should not have come away with 3 on that possession. That sucks, right? So you kind of factor that in as well. We had drops. Jahan Dotson had a drop in the end zone. Sam Howell missed a wide open John Bates. I know he was off balance and he was fading backwards, but I've seen him make off balance, fading backwards dimes. And you got John Bates running wide open up the seam for a walk-in touchdown. You just got to put that ball a little bit shorter with a little bit more air so he can run under it, and you got a touchdown, and then ultimately he throws the pick. So you get nothing out of that possession. You had a drop out of Jahan and then a missed opportunity to John Bates, and then you end up throwing a pick. So you get 0 points out of a possession that should have ended in 7. That's a missed opportunity. That's what we call that. Terry had OPI. You had defensive pass interference committed on him, but I still want Terry to catch the football. And I know you're speaking, he got hit early. Yeah, you're right. He did. All right, find a way to catch it anyway. And look, I'm not being nitpicky. He was impacted because he got hit before he could touch the football, right? But find a way to catch it anyway. Same thing for Emmanuel Forbes. Everybody's, it should have been OPI. The guy hit him first. Find a way to catch the football anyway. I don't want to hear any excuses. Just find a way to make the play, right? So we had missed opportunities, drops, etc., etc. So no points there for avoid the mistakes. That's why this game was 20-17 and not 30-13, right? So we go to the defensive side of the football. Stop the run. Half credit for that, because actually this was I was so nervous coming into this game about stopping the run. I'm not going to lie to you. The biggest impact I think we're going to see defensively is the inability to just stop the run with 4 guys up front without Chase and Montez. That's where I think we're going to see the biggest difference. They're going to have to go to the Cinco package a ton just to be able to stop the run. That's what I thought going into this game. I was surprised at how efficient we were stopping the run with just 4 guys on the field for the most part. Now, obviously, you give up the 64-yarder, and so that's a problem. That's why it's only half credit. But outside of the 64-yard run, they really didn't have any success on the ground, period. So I thought they did a solid job, but obviously they could do a lot better stopping the run. Half credit there. Take advantage of a depleted Pats wide receiver core and limit the tight ends. And I gave them full credit for that. They get the check mark because the Patriots wide receivers were non-existent in this football game. They had opportunities, but Mac Jones said at the press conference that every time they saw 13 on the field, the game plan was to attack him, right? So they knew about the struggles and the confidence, faltering with Emmanuel Forbes, and they looked to exploit that. They just didn't have anybody to be able to do that. If Kendrick Bourne were available, it might have been a totally different game, but they didn't have him. The best they had was Juju Smith-Schuster. Nobody's afraid of him, right? And so they took full advantage of them not having any receivers, and the tight ends really didn't hurt us other than the Hunter Henry touchdown, and they tried to go after Jamie Davis. And so 2 things that I recognized watching the game back. One, they went after Emmanuel Forbes a ton. All right, he was targeted over and over and over again. That's why he made so many plays, because they kept going his way. That was a part of the game plan. And 2, without having real receivers, the game plan also was, hey, let's attack their linebackers. Specifically, let's attack 52. But they went after 47 as well, up the seam. Okay, but they really made a concerted effort, and they had some success in the game going after Jamin Davis. But he also made his fair share of plays as well, as we saw in the fourth quarter on a wheel route where he was beat, but he was able to get his hand on the football. And again, not the best ball from Mac Jones, not our problem. Jamin Davis made the play. So I gave us a full check and a full point there. Force at least 1 turnover of Mac Jones. I thought it was imperative to force Mac Jones into at least 1 turnover. And we were able to do that at the most critical juncture of the game. We got it when we needed it the most. So they saved the best for last. I knew that he was going to turn it over, and it was imperative that we got 1 from him because he had been turning it over at such a high clip this season. And we forced a fumble, and it should have been 2. We were robbed of a second Mac Jones turnover. But the football gods made sure that we got it, and we got it back when we needed it the most. So I'm not complaining. If it was only going to be 1 Mac Jones turnover, I'm glad we got it when we got it because it helped preserve the victory. Full check there for getting at least 1 turnover from Mac Jones. We were able to accomplish that goal. And then finally, the last defensive key to victory, win first and second downs to set up 3rd and long. The Patriots lived in 3rd and long in this football game. Now, it was a little disappointing early in the game because they were able to convert, especially on the first drive of the game. I think they had 2 3rd and long conversions to keep that drive alive, and then they got into a 3rd and long, got into a 4th and medium, 4th and 3, 4th and 4, and went for it and had an open receiver, and Matt Jones missed him on the opening possession. But we kept them constantly in 3rd and longs, which allowed us to be able to not have to blitz or, be aggressive, but just rally up and tackle, essentially. They would throw screens and slants and things underneath, and we would rally up and tackle 4 or 5 yards short of the sticks and force them to punt. The only way you're able to do that is if you got them in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 11, constantly, and they consistently were in those 3rd and long situations because we did a good job on 1st and 2nd down of stopping the run, or forcing an incompletion because they tried to target Emmanuel Forbes and he was, or Benjamin St. Juste, and they would break it up. And now it's 2nd and 10. Then they would run it and then get 2 yards. And now it's 3rd and 8. Now you got a chance to get off the field. That was the game plan. They executed it beautifully, and it helped us come away. I think the Patriots were 3 of 12 on 3rd downs in this game. Big reason why we won on 1st and 2nd down, setting up 3rd and a long. So you tally up all of the points collected by the Commanders in the keys to victory. And I told you, anything over 5.5 gives you a great chance to win. You get in the 6 range, you should win the game. Anything over 6.5, 6.5 or better, if you don't win, something went horribly wrong, more likely than not turnovers, right? So altogether, you get a 6 out of all of the keys to victory out of 8. You're supposed to win the game, and we did, but we didn't win by as much as we should have, but you still get the victory. And so, again, these keys to victory are usually set up and tailored for each opponent because of the things they either don't or do well. And if you do these things, it usually leads to us winning, and they took care of business. So Washington is now 1 game under 500, right in the thick of things in the NFC playoffs. Like I told you guys last week, a lot of you, after we traded Tez and Young, were punting on the season. And I told y'all, it's great to have that big picture mentality, but don't lose sight of the focus that's on the season now. We're not out of this thing, and we're not going to be out of it because Ron and company, this is when they do their best work here in November. This thing was probably going to fall apart at the seams by the time we get to mid to late December. But let's enjoy November. It's usually very good to us. Let's enjoy November while we got it, okay? So, with that said, let's get to in other news. We did hear from Ronald Rivera today, and he talked for 17 minutes. It's always nice when you win. Everybody, you should see the amount of interviews done after the game yesterday, on the road, no less. It's one thing to be at home. They don't have to get on a flight, or they don't have to, catch a bus to get to the airport or something like that. It's one thing to, do that at home where you just got to get in your car and drive home, right? So you can interview a bunch of guys, get in that locker room. Nobody's in a rush. If you win a game or, if you lose, guys want to get out of there. They don't really want to talk. So you might only see 3 or 4 guys speak to the media. You win, and everybody wants some camera time. And 6, 7 dudes talked after this game. But it's a big difference between winning and losing in this league. And Rivera, talking for 17 minutes is a prime example of that. You win, and everybody wants to, ask you questions, and you don't mind answering each question and talking for 2 minutes apiece on each question. It's different when you win. Anyway, we'll get to what was said, but let's look at the snap count first for week number 9. And so we start with the offense, 78 offensive snaps. That's a good day at the office, just so we're clear. Anything 70 or above, that means you possess the football. You probably won time of possession. And again, you'd like to see these drives end in touchdowns, but 78 plays means you were doing the damn thing and you converted on third downs, which gave you more opportunities to call plays. So, and it's not a coincidence. When we convert on third downs, you look up and Terry's got 9 targets, 5 catches. Jahan's got 7 or 8 targets. He's got 4 or 5 catches. It's not a coincidence that the ball is spread around to everyone and everybody's happy and everybody's touching the football and making plays. You convert on third downs, you get more opportunities, good things happen. 78 for the entire offensive line and Sam Howell as well. So 100% of the snaps, which is what you want to see from the offensive line. That means nobody got hurt, nobody missed a snap. Sam's out there, all is good, all is well, all is right with the world. You get to Terry McLaurin, who's usually the first guy after the offensive line and Sam in terms of snaps. Same thing applies here, 67 snaps, 86%. Jahan Dotson, 76% of the snaps. He was on the field for 59. Logan Thomas, 57, 73%. Brian Robinson Jr., 44, 56%. Remember, this number was so much lower earlier in the season. This is why I felt like this was the best game. Because you know what I loved? Even after the fumble, the very first play, EB earlier in the season would have put Brian Robinson Jr. under the doghouse. We might not have seen him touch the football until after halftime. Somebody would have to remind him after halftime, hey, bro, since the fumble, Brian Robinson Jr. hasn't touched the football. We haven't run the football, and you threw it 13 times to end the first half. The first play after the fumble, he gives it to Brian Robinson, right? That's a great sign of a great play caller where you say, hey, it's okay. You're good. This is not what you do. You're not a fumbling guy, and we're going to go back to you just to instill the confidence in you that, hey, we're good, okay? I love it. 44 snaps for Brian Robinson Jr., 56% of the snaps. John Bates and Jamison Crowder each played 37 snaps for 47%. Antonio Gibson, 34 plays. Love that. Again, I think him and Brian Robinson should be somewhere in that neighborhood. Robinson, to me, should always have more than Antonio Gibson. There should never be a game, to me, if he's healthy, and he being Brian Robinson Jr., that Antonio Gibson should have more snaps than he should. But that's a good number for Gibson, right? Playing roughly, right around half the snaps in the game. That's right around where he should be, 44%. I like that. De'Ami Brown, after complaining a week ago, 23 snaps. I think he was right around this same number last week. I don't think the number really changed all that much. He just got more opportunities in the pass game. But again, you can't cry for the football. You can't complain. And I'm not saying that's what he was doing, but he did say something on social media and then drop a touchdown. Can't do that, right? 29% of the snaps. Byron Pringle, little uptick for him. I think he played 9 snaps last week, 18, so he doubled that. And we see the impact that this guy's having when he gets on the field. He's doing good things, whether he's blocking somebody down the field, as he did. I think he had the final block. Terry had a good block. And I think he might have had a nice little block on the touchdown run by Brian Robinson. I know Terry did for sure. I don't want to give Pringle credit for that. But Alex Arma, 10 snaps. That's a big number for him. Normally, he's in single digits. So 10 is a good number for him, 13% of the snaps. And then Cole Turner. A lot of you were asking about Cole Turner. A lot of you thought he was injured. You guys had me thinking he was injured, right? And I'm like, well, he's not on the inactive list, right? And he hasn't been on the injury list all week, so I don't know where this whole injury narrative came from. He's just not out there. And a lot of you just assumed, well, he's not out there, so he was inactive like 2 weeks ago. Maybe last week, I think it was. He was inactive. But he was out there. 4 snaps for Cole Turner. This is the thing. I don't remember seeing him. I don't remember seeing him. Now, he was inactive. He was a part of the inactives last week. Not this week. He wasn't. So he was out there. I just don't remember seeing him. 5% of the snaps for Cole Turner. As we get to the defensive side, 64 total defensive snaps. And so, as you can see, Percy Butler, Jamin Davis, Cam Curl, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, the entire secondary essentially, with Jamin Davis being your new mic, or the green dot communicator. 64%, all 100% of the snaps. Deron Payne, 78, which is a good number, right? We're used to Deron being up in the 90s, high 80s. 78% is a good number for him. Now we need to see it turn into him making some plays, right? David Mayo, 49 snaps, 77%. Same with Jonathan Allen. So the fact that we got the D-line, the 2 guys in the middle in particular, down into the 70 percentile of snaps. Now let's see an uptick in production from those guys. Emmanuel Forbes, 48 snaps. That's probably his highest mark since early in the season when he was playing a ton. 75%. James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill. James Smith-Williams, 44. Casey Toohill, 42. 69 and 66, respectively, percentage of the snaps. F.A. Obata, 21. So we're seeing his number come up a little bit, 33%, which we assumed would happen. Quan Martin, 15 snaps, 23%. Khaleke Hudson, also with 15 snaps for 23%. Andre Jones Jr., John Ridgeway, and Fedarian Mathis all played 14 snaps for 22%. And KJ Henry, only 9 snaps. They were impactful, it felt like. But only 9 snaps, 14%. I expect with the sack that he got to see a little bit of an uptick in his snap count as well. So as normal, did you see anybody there that should have more snaps, should have less snaps? Leave it down in the comment section. I did get this message from the 2023 rookie class to deliver to you guys. So I was told to tell you guys to pull out your pipe. Okay. All right. Go ahead and insert into mouth for those of you who had a lot of shit to say about the 2023 draft. That it was trash, that it was this, that it was that didn't want to exhibit patience. And I did put together a blend. At their request, I did put together a blend to put inside of that pipe for you, right? So the first thing is patience. So I crushed up the patience herb, right? Put a little bit of that there. Then they asked me, and I was like, no, seriously, are we doing this? And they was like, yes, we need to do this. So they asked me to crush up some ass, right? Some ass and put it in there. And a couple of other herbs and special flavors. But the 2 main ingredients was patience and ass. And they said, hey, give that to them. Tell them to put that in their pipe and smoke it. And then they said, tell them that we want to know, how does our ass taste? Tell me how my ass tastes. That's the message they wanted me to deliver to you who had something to say about the draft class 9 weeks into the season. Are you guys kidding me? What the hell is wrong with some of you people? Okay, I get it that this draft class hadn't done anything early in the season, but you're judging the draft class after 8 weeks of football? They were phenomenal yesterday. Everybody that played that it was a part of the draft class did something of note. Whether it was Emmanuel Forbes having the best game of his career, Quan Martin making the game-saving interception. Those are your first 2 picks, you know. No Ricky Stromberg. He was inactive, obviously. But KJ Henry, you know, with the sack force fumble, was robbed of that. And I got to go back and give him some credit. I said that he didn't do anything. When I watched the playback again, he actually faked out the tackle, right? He acted as if he was going inside, like he was about to run a stunt. And so the tackle then blocks down, and then he just went around him. So he actually set up his own free rush, essentially. He really did a good job on that play. Andre Jones had a batted ball, a pass, PBU, a pass deflected at the line of scrimmage. And Chris Rodriguez had a massive special teams tackle down inside the 5-yard line. Those are huge. So this class was impactful in a massive way on Sunday. Just give them a chance. Just give them a chance. It's not going to be great every single week, but you guys have to back off and let them breathe and let them have an opportunity. My goodness. Anyway, Ronald Rivera, talked for 17 minutes. The biggest topic of discussion is going to be Sam every single week. And, his play, they talked about the interception. They talked about, the throws he made. I mean, some of the throws were just ridiculous from the game on Sunday. The touchdown to Jahan. I still think the corner route to Terry is the best throw he might have made all season. That's a ridiculous throw. It reminds me of the throw he made to Terry in that Eagles game, the first one in overtime, that he stepped on, Reed Blankenship's forearm and ended up not being in bounds, which he probably was in bounds, and we got jerked on it. But it was the same exact throw, fading away, backpedaling, a dime to his left, to Terry before he gets out. I mean, it's just an insane throw, bro. I just don't think you guys understand the level of difficulty of that particular throw. And he did it with Jahan as well. That one wasn't as difficult as the one to Terry on a 3rd and 8. But he had, and then throw to Pringle across, like, there's so many different things, that he talked about with Sam. But the biggest thing was gaining the trust, right? Like, EB can put more on his plate, and Sam's responding to that. Getting out of calls that may be, that won't work essentially against the look you're getting because they're coming with pressure and you don't have time for the play to develop. So you get into something else. And so he talked about Sam's development, EB's trust in him so that he can call different things now. So there's a lot that goes into that in the maturation. Ron talked about how the maturation of Sam, it has allowed them to do things that in past years they haven't been able to do because they haven't had stability at the quarterback position. He said the only year we had any sort of stability at the quarterback position was 2021, right? 2020, you had all kinds of influx. 2022, you started with Wentz, and by the midpoint of the season, it was Heineke's show. And so there was always that, Wentz kind of looking over Heineke's shoulder if he were to mess up, and then that's what happened in the Browns game, and it turned into a disaster. There's none of that this year. There's no looking over your shoulder. We know who the guy is. We know who he's going to be moving forward, and that's refreshing. And then he also talked about, the teammates starting to rally around him. Terry, after the game, said, Sam's our guy. We trust him. Jonathan Allen said the same thing. Like, I think he's our quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. We know we got a guy. And so now the players are starting to rally around Sam, and they expect greatness from him. And so you're in a good spot. And Ronald essentially said that. No one asked him anything about, the challenge or lack thereof. And if, James Smith-Williams doesn't go down with a cramp, if he's going to challenge that, again, shout out to James Smith-Williams for getting it done because Ronald was going to be slow again and sleep behind the wheel. But he talked about the importance of Tyler Larson and the girth on the interior of the line, which is, I told you, the biggest difference is Chris Paul and Tyler Larson are a couple of, 325, 30 pound. Chris Paul's 330. Tyler Larson's like 325, so he's pushing 330, and that makes a huge difference. You can't bully these guys inside. Larson's a great communicator, so he's helping set the protections along with Sam, and so there's just a better cohesion up front because the center is able to get everybody lined up and get things done, and they're passing off twists and stunts, and they're not getting bull rushed and bullied in the middle, and guys aren't getting pushed back. into the lap of a shorter quarterback and not allowing him to be able to step up in the pocket. So he talked about that. He talked about Jamison Crowder's impact and him being a veteran. And I think sometimes we don't talk enough about veteran presence and what that means for a football team. But Crowder's been really refreshing, honestly. I made jokes about him coming back and, not wanting him to be on punts and, oh my God, what is Crowder doing in the game? But he's been, one of the bright spots in terms of veteran players on this football team. He's been huge, has Jamison Crowder. And Ron highlighted, several punt returns that he had and AG's big kick return to start the game and talked about the importance of what those mean and how they look at things in the special teams room in terms of, every 10 yards that you get past the 25 for the kickoff, every 10 yards you get on the punt return is one less first down the offense has to get, which is a really smart way of looking at it. So, he talked about Jamin Davis. He thought that the question was pertaining to Jamin Davis and not Jamison Crowder. So he goes on this spiel about Jamin Davis and his, role changing because of the injuries at linebacker to Cody Barton in particular, and how he's playing, the dime backer, but he's also being asked to, be the captain of the defense, get everybody lined up, he's got the green dot and all that good stuff. So they're putting a lot on his plate, and they like his development. He was the cause of the, along with Percival Butler, I'm not letting him off the hook for not taking a better angle and making the tackle, but Jamin Davis was, a huge part of the reason why that 64-yard run happened. And you could see Jack on the sidelines with the tablet showing him, bro, you cannot get blocked by that guard, right? You've got to get around and get into that gap, right? So, he talked about a number of different things, and he's like, hey, and then finally, last thing was, it's November, and you've played good football in November. And I think it was Scott Abraham that, said he was 9-3. And I think Ron was like, you got the wrong record. I'm 10-2. Like, Ron was like, yeah, get that shit right. But essentially he was like, look, I've had turnover at quarterback. I think we're in a different spot this year. I think things could be different this time around. We're learning. EP's getting more comfortable with Sam and Sam getting comfortable with him and vice versa. And you could see it in this game. The play calling, I think I've said this already. I'll say it once more. This was EB's best game as a play caller in terms of balance, consistency, variety. All I ever really asked for out of the run game was variety. We didn't even see a single jet sweep or anything like that, but we saw variety. We saw under center. We saw fullback. We saw no fullback. We saw gun runs. We saw everything that you look for in a diverse run game, and you saw the dividends. You saw how it's able to, even when Antonio Gibson was in the game, he had some good hits in the run game too, right? So I like the fact that in some of those third and short situations, you got under center and you handed the ball off, right? So I think Ronald's confident right now. I don't know if he should be, but I can't knock the man for feeling confident heading into this next game in Week 10 versus the Seattle Seahawks. So let's get to the close of the show. It's a big win. I'm excited. We're right where we need to be. We're one game out of the playoffs. Right now, we're the first team out. You know how in college basketball, they got the last four in and the first four out when you're talking about the NCAA tournament? We would be the first team out. We are the 8th seed right now, right behind the Vikings. Had they lost, we would be in the playoffs right now, right? But we don't have to play this game right now because the Vikings have Joshua Dobbs at quarterback, right? So we don't have to play that game right now. Let's just let this thing play out, see what happens, and we'll go from there, right? You got to win football games. That's the name of the game. And we'll see what happens. And we'll talk more about Seattle and the daunting task that lies ahead as the week progresses. But, let's just enjoy this one. We haven't had enough of these this season. We should have had 2 or 3 more of these Victory Mondays this season. And instead, we're 4 and 5. So let's just enjoy this, right? Celebrate! Got the dub. We'll see if it manifests itself into more of them or if this uneven season of back and forth rears its ugly head. But again, just enjoy this victory, and we'll be back to break it all down. We'll talk about the division. Man, what a game yesterday. between the Eagles and the Cowboys, and we'll go around the NFC East and all of that good jazz. And I got some good conversation for you guys tomorrow, so that'll be a fun show. But until then, you guys know what it is. Post up, take command. Until next time, you guys have a good one. See you next time.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone.